The sun is our raison d'etre. It's our life path, our career, our purpose. It can represent father and father figures. I was like, I wonder if her father has died in the last 16 years. And I looked it up. And her father, unfortunately, did pass away. And
Wow.
I don't know exactly what date, but it looks like around like September, October of 2017. And at that time, Pluto was at 16 degrees of Capricorn. So it was doing literally its last pass over her sun.
We gonna stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
This is a weird intro.
I am like a kid in a candy shop right now. I'm like literally kicking my feet, like, let's talk about Heather.
You're so excited because we got Heather Dubrow.
Wait. And let me say something, because I think it was, well, who knows how many weeks ago now, but one of the things we did, I was like, I'm so team Heather. Like, I am really enjoying Heather this season. No, that's over. That was short-lived. It was like 2 weeks of where I was really feeling. I'm like, no, I still love her as like a housewife, but I did not enjoy the last couple of episodes because she's just too buddied up with Tamara that it's driving me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've had caught me on that week when I liked her, because today I don't. Today I'm gonna be ruthless.
I mean, yeah, we've talked about it before, how there are houses that we like that we don't like personally, and then there's also housewives that we like as housewives. Like, I wouldn't want to be there for, like, there's some people who I'm like, I like them as a housewife. Like, this is a person who like should be a housewife. Like, they're great, but like, would I want to be friends? No. And there's a couple that I'm like, I maybe would be friends with them, but probably not. What?
Jen, I want to do yoga classes with Jen. I would hang out with Jen.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I stand on that. Heather, no, but I can still appreciate her for what she is.
Yeah.
I just don't think she's delivering the last couple of times. You know,
well, let's get
into
it.
She's changed. She's not being authentic. Yeah, let's look why.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Heather Dubrow-ish of it all on PCP Astrology with Bravo Bitch Past.
Yes.
Yep. So obviously, if you haven't figured it out, we're talking about Heather Dubrow from Real Housewives of Orange County.
Yes.
Fancy pants. Herself.
Fancy pants. I know. I told you I wanted champagne for this episode.
That's
I really let myself down.
You know what's so funny is that I saw a screening a little while ago of the movie The Widow Clicquot, which is about Veuve Clicquot and like how that champagne came about, which I had no idea. I
heard that was a really interesting movie or show or whatever it was.
It was a very interesting movie. I really enjoyed it. It was, look, if you like an artsy fartsy film, it's perfect. Like, I like an artsy fartsy film. It was great.
Right.
And then I just finished reading the book that it was based on. Very different, because the book is more of a it's more like of a historical nonfiction talking about, because it's actually very hard. So I get why there was an artsy fartsy film, because it's very hard to actually get the history of Barb Nicole Clicquot Ponsardin, because they didn't keep records of women at that time. There were barely any women business owners, period, in the 19th and 18th centuries, France, period, the world. And then like they just didn't keep records. Like, so they kept records, but not of the women. Like, it wasn't worth it to talk about the women.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I drink Veuve, I'm a feminist. Is what you're saying.
You are a feminist if you drink Veuve. Yeah.
Well, then I have to go for the sake of feminism. I have to go to the liquor store as soon as we're done here.
Yep. So, but as I kept I just kept thinking about Heather, because I was like, oh, I wonder if Heather like knows all of this. And I was like, she probably knows a lot of this. So
maybe. I'm like, no, why would she bother herself with other people's lives?
I just feel like history, though, because she's a know-it-all.
That's true. She does need something to talk about at the parties.
Yeah. So let's get into her. Let's
dive in
to Heather Heather Dubrow. Heather Page Kent Dubrow. Like, there we go. Where did this go? Where did this page go? Sorry. I'm losing it. All of it. There we go. All right. Heather Dubrow, born January 5th, 1969 in the Bronx, New York. We do not have a birth time for her, so we're going with a 0 Aries chart. There we go. We have a Capricorn sun, not a Capricorn moon this time.
For once.
Finally. Yeah.
Right.
So Capricorn sun and a Leo moon. Now, again, she could be a Cancer moon if she was born earlier in the day or like early in the morning. But I feel that she is a Leo.
I was going to say, what's your suspicion?
I believe she's a Leo moon.
When I looked into Leo, I think that's actually the first comment that I have on here. It is. I just wrote Leo moon. Does this explain everything? Because as I was looking through the qualities of a Leo moon, I was like, oh, well.
It can explain a lot about her for sure. For sure.
Okay, so what are the qualities of a Leo moon? And is that a difficult spot to have your moon?
It's not a difficult spot to have your moon, actually.
Okay.
Well, but this is the thing too, is that I do want to talk about her Capricorn sun first, because sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions about Capricorn. A lot of them are spot on. Look, it's a Saturn ruled sign. They do like structure. They do like to be right all the time. They do put systems in place. They can be very organized. Like a lot of times, things that people equate with Virgo are actually Capricorn traits.
Yeah. So get off of our necks, okay? Of course, I've got a Capricorn stellium. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that you have a Capricorn stellium that is coloring a lot of that, even though you are a Virgo sun. But she is a Capricorn sun. And so that is her life purpose, her life path, her careers, her almost raison d'etre. Like this is who she is at her core. So this is in just a 0 Aries chart, the way everything sets up. Capricorn sits at the very top of the chart. It's the 10th house. It is the career house. So Capricorns are ambitious. They are the top of the house. So that's where I go automatically. She is ambitious. I mean, even just fuck the Leo moon. The woman's ambitious. Most Capricorns are ambitious, but most people think of Capricorns being ambitious when it comes to like maybe being CEOs.
Right.
Yeah, owners of companies, things like that. They're not necessarily always thinking about like, actors or reality stars or musicians or things like that, but they can be. Right. Yeah. They definitely can be. So that I think is actually coloring a lot of what we see in her when it comes to her ambition and wanting to be seen, is a lot of her Capricorn sun.
Okay.
Now her Leo moon is definitely somebody who like expresses their emotions by, look at me.
Self-importance.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Leo is also like our body too. So like treating our body like it is an important vessel and temple, like a Leo is definitely going to do that as well. I wouldn't be surprised. I was looking at this though too. I wouldn't be surprised if she was a Leo rising, to be honest with you, the way that she is. Leo's also a fixed sign. She is very open-minded though. There's a lot of different indicators of her open-mindedness. Because I think that's one thing that like people get surprised with her about, is like actually how open-minded she is.
I was just going to say that, like, especially with her, her kids and stuff, when you see her, like, it is shocking when everything else about her seems so rigid.
Exactly. Yeah. No, she's actually very open-minded. I want to switch some things around. Sorry. I can't read everything right. There we go. All right. Yeah. Okay. That's better. Whew. Now I can read things. Okay. I've got so many like screens up, like windows up. I'm like, okay. So yeah. So these are like, I will say this. So she has had Pluto going through her sun, like whatever house her sun is in, for the last 16 years. Now, this has been in the zeitgeist a lot about like Pluto having just moved into Aquarius. Now it is back in Capricorn right now. Actually, if you want to do that real quick, hold on. So we can see it right here. This is a transit of right now, like today when we're recording this. Pluto's right here, but it has been going through here for the last 16 years, since 2008. And now, like I said earlier, the sun is our raison d'etre. It's our life path, our career, our purpose. It's also our father. It can represent father and father figures. So can Saturn. The moon represents also like our mother figures. And so can Venus, and women figures, things like that. So, but I wondered if it was just me. I was like, I don't know. It was like with Pluto doing such an important transit. And like I said in a last episode, Pluto moves super slowly. Pluto and Neptune, sometimes they're just like really scratching right over that. I mean, she even has Neptune going over her Chiron right here. So it's really just like scratching over these like wounds here for that. But it also can like scratch over certain things. So right now I'd say she's going through a communication style change for her. Like she's going through a revolution when it comes to that. And a few years ago, she went through like a career revolution and change. But I also wondered, I was like, I wonder if her father has died in the last 16 years. And I looked it up, and her father unfortunately did pass away in, I don't know exactly what date, but it looks like around like September, October of 2017. And at that time, Pluto was at 16 degrees of Capricorn. So it was doing literally its last pass over her sun. I do not know if her father had been ill before that. And if he had, I would guess that her father had started to be ill around 2014, maybe 2015. So he'd probably been ill for a couple of years previous to that. Could be wrong, but I'm not sure. But if I'm right, then it had to deal with her Pluto transit over her sun, I would say. So yeah.
Interesting.
Also, actually, I want to look up that real quick. What years was she on Housewives? Too, because
I'm just trying to think, whatever you were talking, because you were talking about Shannon and her dad, and then I was trying to think about mine, because my dad passed last year, and I was trying to think about the seasons and stuff. But my Capricorn is 7th house. Is that relevant? I'm interested to know in these, like the transits that like signal to you that something's going to happen. I think that's very interesting.
It all depends on, like, we'd have to go back to your chart. Hold on.
I mean, you don't have to get to, don't let me get you off track, but I do think it's fascinating that you can look at that and tell like that certain things are going to happen in certain periods, or likely. I know we give like a disclaimer every time that this is not,
yeah, this is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a doctor. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a psychotherapist. Please just have fun with this. And I'm not predicting anything. This is just conjecture. Actually, it looks like, sorry, I have to look at something.
It's okay.
God damn it. I mean, look, like I said, like in a previous one, like I thought that something was going to happen with a couple of transits that were happening this year to like somebody that I would know that would be very close to me. I was like, oh, maybe this will happen. And it didn't. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it just, it can be literal, and sometimes it's not. Hold on. 2017. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Because January 2017, she left Housewives.
Interesting. And I forgot that she left and came back.
Yeah. January 2017. And it was almost, and it still was hovering around that like 16, 17. It was in like 1 to 2 degrees of her sun. So stuff was happening. Stuff was happening.
Right.
So yeah. And she joined,
Well,
she
and
joined
you
in 2012. I mean,
you
2012.
you said something about her communication style changing too. I've definitely seen that. Like even the latest episode that we had talked about, which was I don't know, part 2 of the London trip.
Mm-hmm.
When she walks in and Shannon's there and she walks in and is just like, let's just address it. Like that. I remember seeing that and being like, that's kind of out of character for her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because it does seem very, it reminds me of Lisa Vanderpump, who was very like, power dynamics mattered. And it was like, you're going to have a conversation when I'm ready to have a conversation. I'm going to be at the head of the table. You come to me type energy. You know, she does kind of have a lot of the same things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With that.
Mm-hmm. I would absolutely agree. Well, so this is so a big thing with her is that she has Mercury directly opposite her moon here. And that is very much like a head over heart communication style. Like she's always kind of fighting head over heart. And so I think that definitely, I think we see that a lot too. Like, because she has this very buttoned upness, and that's why it's surprising when she gets emotional, and it's surprising when like she says things that are very like open-minded, because it or like very kind of heart forward and not like stern, because you're just like, oh. So I think she's this time of that has started in the last year or so of Pluto moving over her Mercury, is of like, maybe I'm starting to take a more heart forward look. Like maybe I start to change this way of looking at things. Who knows? That's up to her. And this is still going to be evolving over the next few years too for her. So
yeah.
Well,
I also wanted to ask you about because I love Aquarius energy, but how does that present with Mercury, like communication wise?
She's like, it's actually, I mean, it's pretty good. Like that this is again where her like open-mindedness kind of is, because even though Aquarius is a Saturn ruled sign, it is like a very like kind of like forward thinking sign. It's a sign where you are definitely its modern day ruler is Uranus. Unexpected things come out of it. Like things are like something happened with like, I don't know, not the invention of the internet, but more like the spread of the internet finally happened when Uranus was in Aquarius. A lot of things happen. A lot of like big thinkers. Nikola Tesla is like a big one. Like if you want to think Aquarians, like think of like Nikola Tesla, like somebody who's really like out there, like thinking of stuff. So people with like strong Aquarian placements can really think out of the box. But once they figure out their box, they like to stay in it though, because it is a fixed sign. It is a fixed masculine sign. So they like to stay in it. So that's why a lot of times, like once like she figures out what she likes, she kind of sticks with it. And one of the, like, I think sometimes the way that her communication style comes off harsh is because it's a very masculine type of sign. She is a very feminine woman with some masculine energy in her. And I feel like that this Mercury here, actually the Leo moon, because Leo is technically a masculine sign. Now, look, I'm only saying this because this is the way that they are delineated. This is not any like type of personal gender thing. They all just alternate feminine, masculine, but Mercury is actually a genderless planet. Like that's like Mercury is a genderless planet. I think Uranus technically is too, but like Mercury goes either way and we love it. So
love that.
But these are also like ancient archetypes that were put on these ones. And if you think about it, Zeus used to take the form of whoever he wanted to at times.
Right. She lived an androgynous king, queen.
Exactly. So she's like this, she just hasn't, and I think like sometimes what puts people off, there are times when I'm watching her and I go, if I was probably talking to you, I wouldn't like the way that you were talking to me, but I'm listening to you and I'm watching you on television. I have some like remoteness. I get exactly what you're saying.
Right.
You just don't say it in the way that everybody else wants you to say it.
Well, and I can't remember if that was you that I was talking to about my son, who's also on the spectrum, and how the way that he says things is sometimes like a lot of people, if you go into it blind, you might be like, oh my God. But if you can meet him where he's at and just appreciate that, like what he is saying, if you're listening, he's really just saying how he feels. And he's saying it matter of factly, it's almost like the emotion is like taken out of it. It's like, I'm just telling you like it is. And I can appreciate that maybe because I'm also on the spectrum, but I can really appreciate that because it's like, I just want a straightforward answer. I just want, you know what I mean? Like take the triggers and the whatever, the projections and all that out. Like, let's just talk. And if you'll tell me what it actually is, then I can get, it's like, stick with me here. It's like if I'm bartending and I ask them what they want to drink. And it's like, don't tell me what I want to hear. Or if I give you a drink and you're like, oh, I don't really like it. Tell me why. And then I can fix it. If it's too sweet, you know what I mean? Like, let me make adjustments. You're not doing me any favors by being like, well, and kind of dancing around it. So I can appreciate a forthright woman who can communicate what she's actually feeling. You know, it doesn't have to be flowery for me.
And I would say, because like, if she had this, to be honest with you, if she had this Mercury moon opposition, hold on, let me get rid of that real quick. If she had this Mercury moon opposition and they were in, let's say, Taurus and Scorpio, I would say she would probably give that like hemming and hawing and a little bit more of like this. But because it's in these two, and Mercury and Scorpio are fixed signs as well, but they are feminine fixed signs. These masculine fixed signs are gonna give it to you straightforward. Are gonna be like, here,
right?
Let's do this.
Right. I don't really care how you feel about it.
Don't really care, but she sometimes holds on to it at times.
Yes. Well, that was another thing too. Where is it? Oh my gosh, I had put some. Was which placement makes her so defensive? Is there something in here happening that makes her, you know what I mean? Because she is really like all the time ready to just be upset about something.
Well, she has, even though they're out of sign, she has her North Node conjunct Chiron. I talk about Chiron a lot, like it's like it's Venus or something, this wounded healer, just because like, you know, especially nowadays in, you know, our pop psychology zeitgeist, we're like more in tune with like our childhood wounds and how they affect us like moving forward. Childhood wounds are not necessarily something to like weaponize against our parents and like how badly they raised us, because they're humans too, you know. But we have to acknowledge our childhood wounds in order to become the better adults and better parents if we have our own children, you know, moving forward in the future. So I would say, I think part of it is that, because like truly she has Chiron sitting right across from her natal Pluto, which is similar to Shannon's from the last one that we did, like trying to pull her underneath, because they both have Pluto in Virgo. They are Pluto in Virgo generation. They are also Chiron in Pisces generation.
Okay.
Because it takes very long times. Go ahead.
Right, to transit. That was one of the things that I was talking about when we were doing the Shannon one, and I said, no, we'll get to it later. It was that, because there's a scene, and I didn't know if this ties into like mommy issues, if you can look at her moon or her Chiron or whatever, but there's the scene when Shannon goes to get the receipts like we were talking about, and she comes back out with the papers. Heather turned to Emily and said, she's like my mother with the notes. And it was such a small thing, but as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, I think we've just cracked the reason that they are so triggered by each other. Because you remember meeting Heather's mom? It was like one scene. In general, meeting someone's parents will tell you so much about them. I love when we get insight on people's parents. But when I saw Heather's mom sit down and they, like the dinner that they had together was just like, oh my God, I understand Heather so much more. And I think she's got a lot of her qualities of her mother that she probably doesn't want to admit. But when she said, Shannon's acting like my mother, I was like, there it is.
Which is hilarious because they're only 5 years apart. But we all have that type of stuff. I mean, you know, maybe Heather's mother is an Aries or an Aries rising. You never know. Like there are parts of Shannon that remind me of my mother, and my mother is an Aries and Aries rising, you know. They're interesting. You know, so there are certain things there. You know, and even I talked about how Shannon could be a Leo moon Like, what if Shannon's a Leo
Right.
moon too,
Right.
instead of a Virgo moon? Or
Right.
what if Heather's mom is a Virgo and is like right on top of
Mhm.
that? Her son is on
I
top
could
of like
totally see
that
that.
Virgo moon of Shannon's. So, you know,
Right.
there's always these things. And we kind of come in with like these soul groups, even friends and stuff. Like I was very surprised with like my family members, how our charts our synastry kind of lined up. And then I've been surprised with certain friends. I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this. Like just even synastry.
Yeah.
A lot of people focus on synastry of romantic relationships, but synastry of
Mhm.
friendships is amazing too. And
Yeah.
business partners, I think you should always just do a synastry chart, especially with business partners. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yes.
That's as like a marriage. But
Yep,
she's
worse.
yeah.
More dangerous.
But like so Heather has this wide it's a wide opposition, but it's still there of Chiron being like pulled down into the underworld world.
Right.
So she's always kind of like fighting this like self-pity in a
Her
sense.
demons. Right.
She's fighting her
Right.
demons. But she's got
Which
her
could
north.
be another reason that Shannon triggers her, because Shannon, I feel like, indulges in her self-pity, you know? And
Well,
that can be incredibly frustrating.
Well, she's got this her north node here. And
Right.
so she's got her north node here in Aries, right there next to her Chiron too. So it's like she needs to move away from this. She's always trying to move, like kind of like she's a little bit more like leaning into those wounds of like,
Mhm.
here, how do I heal these wounds so I don't have to deal with this? Because, and this literally hit me, like this was the first thing I really saw, since I don't have her birth time and we don't have her rising sign, was that
Right.
she has her south node here, conjunct Uranus, the planet of like surprise, of unexpectedness, of electricity,
Right.
of like, oh, hello, of kind of fun, chaos, and Jupiter, the god and the planet of, you know, expansion, of opportunities, bigness. So there is this like, where did I write it down? Sorry, because it was like there, it's kind of like this, and it's in Libra, which is this sign of trying to find balance.
Mhm.
And it's also kind of like a self-centered sign, no lie. Of
Right.
like what came to me first was like, especially just these two being exactly conjunct, is
Mhm.
she has to let go of chaos in her life. She has this overwhelming urge to get rid of chaos. And if she can get rid of chaos, then she can balance out her life. And she can find that, and then she can grow. But at the same time, the more she tries to like get rid of chaos, the bigger it gets, or the bigger it feels, and the heavier it feels. And that's like the Jupiter thing. And so like she has to learn how to give up some control
Mhm.
in order to actually give up the chaos. And they seem counterintuitive.
Right. A paradox.
Exactly. It is a paradox,
Yeah.
especially for her Capricorn sun, that is all like structure in here. But it's like,
Right.
it's like, no, you need to actually have fun, give into this chaos. I mean, look, she said at Shannon's 60th birthday, like tea party, that like one of her favorite things was like at, you know, when they're late at night after,
Mhm.
you know, on these trips, when they get to like have fun. And we see
Let
her
loose.
having fun and letting loose, but she's kind of controlled. And it's like, no, what if you really let loose, Heather?
That made my
on-
butthole clench. I can't even conceptualize it. This is where I'm starting to get upset, because I feel like I'm understanding Heather more. I was ready to attack her. Now I'm like, fuck, I think
How dare I humanize these women?
yeah, fuck. This is not what I wanted. I'm so upset, because the idea of letting go of control in general, but also letting control when chaos is present, like, my
Mhm.
God,
Yep.
it's diabolical, Stacy.
I know. I'm so terrible that I just make these women seem better than they are.
I know, I'm
Make
literally
them human.
sweating right now thinking about it. I hate this. And also, it's funny because as you were describing this, I'm like, this has manifested and personified in Tamara because chaos. And I feel like if she cut out the chaos, meaning like cut this person out and just detach from Tamara, then the chaos will feel safer because then it's not like malicious chaos, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
you can't let your guard down around Tamara because, you know.
Oh, fucking yeah, no. Well, I tell you what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a break because and we will be back next week with the other half of Heather Dubrow's chaos.
Yes. And that's when we lean into her.
We're going to lean into more chaos. We're going to talk more about Heather Dubrow's chart. So make sure that you are already subscribed to PCP on YouTube, that you are already following us on wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, follow, hit that like button. Make sure you are following Dahlia at Bravo Bitch Fest on all the socials. Make sure you are following PCP Pretty Corrupt Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, and Pretty Corrupt One on Twitter. Why we have to have both? Freaking Twitter. I will call it its dead name because
I think
Elon.
100%. I think actually my Twitter is @_ Bravo Bitch Fest, but I don't care because I'm always this close to deleting Twitter. So it's fine.
I'm so close.
I'm not active on there. Yeah.
So much of the time. And then if you want a reading from me, you can reach me, stacynoelleconner @gmail.com. Everything's in the description. You can also follow me, you can DM me. And we'll be back next week with the other half, part two. Heather Dubrow. All right, we'll see y'all then.
Bye.